Hello everybody and welcome back to another Watercolor Wednesday. My name is MxRheyRhey and today I have another bingo art challenge for you. If you don't know what that is, last month I started a series for myself where I assign a color from a set of 60 watercolors from Arteza, a number on a bingo set that I quote-unquote inherited from my grandmother, and I choose 3 numbers once a month and I have to create something out of that color palette, or the last numbers, which are in the O category, are a prompt. So I have to just do something from this prompt, and it looks like my numbers this time are B7, I30, and B8, which are the 3 colors vermilion red, orangey red, and it looks like a deep green. Okay, so I gotta be honest, when I made this challenge, I told myself it was gonna be once a month, and I'm sticking to that because if I just keep doing this, it's gonna be like way too much, and I don't kind of want to be that kind of channel. But I find the concept of this really fun. And it's really nice. I like working with colors a lot. Excuse me, I just had an apple. So like seeing what colors I can mix and like the values I can give it in any kind of painting, I find really fun. And so when I have a vermilion red, which is very warm, and orangey red, which is obviously very warm, it's on the red side of orange, so it's a warm orange, and then a deep green, which I actually chose as one of the colors in my Arteza watercolor palette that I custom made. You can probably check on the link right there in the corner. So the deep green is a very cool bluish green, so I knew having a cool green with 2 very warm reds and oranges were gonna either be a complete disaster or I didn't know. I actually thought it was just gonna be a complete disaster, and I was gonna like be fully like, oh my god, what did I get myself into to do once a month? But it turned out interesting. I feel like when you kind of assign a bit of the values to a normal like primary set, like obviously the deep green would have been like the blue, the red would have been the red, and the orange would have been like my yellow value. That's kind of what you have to do when you have 3 colors to choose from. It puts in perspective what you think you can and can't do, especially when you look into the color wheel, which is what I'm going to do next. Where was I gonna come with that? I can't remember. So, this color wheel, yes, the oranges I put as my yellows. So the the color scheme is not as varied as you would believe that I'm making it out to be. Obviously, when you put orange and green together, you get brown. When you put green and red together, you get brown. But they're different shades of brown. I would definitely actually call the orange-green mixture that I made this time around more of a very desaturated green. And then like my reddish brown was actually somewhat kind of purple, like the most desaturated purple probably that you can find, to where it's actually, no, it's absolutely like a dark brown, but like there's some hints of blue in it, so it's like a umber. I would say it's closest to like your umber than anything. And then when you mix all 3 together at the very end of the wheel that you're going to be seeing soon, you actually get like a really warm like tree trunk brown, which I guess makes sense because you're putting 2 warm colors together, and so the outlier is the cool, and obviously if that makes brown, it's going to be a more warmer brown because you have more warm tones mixing all together. And so what I couldn't help but think of when I was doing all of this was florals and, you know, the outdoorsiness. I think that's the only really realistic place you'd be able to find these colors together in nature, albeit for me quite rare to find something orange and red together in a forest that aren't like a poppy field. But I didn't want to do that again because I've been on a flower binge lately. I don't know if you've noticed from some previous videos that I've done, the field of flowers for my abstract, the floral and inking that I just put out last week. I believe it was last week. I'm not entirely sure anymore. But yeah, I've been on a floral kick, and I'm not gonna lie, there are some flowers in this piece. But it's abstract. There's no real shape to a lot of it. It's just the perception of shape. Is that what I was going for? The perception of shape? The illusion of shape? Something to that degree. But yeah, I did not think that this color was going to take that long. But as you can see in my primary and secondary values, there is not a lot of color variation. There's greens, some browns, and then a deeper orange when you mix the red and orange together. Who would have thought orange red and red make an orangier red? But I at least was impressed with the amount of green variation, even if they are desaturated. Just from, like, as you can see in between the mix, like the equal mix of orange green and the green, there's like a darker sort of green, like a dark green that's like, oh hey, that reminds me of like a fall green, like when the leaves are not entirely orange or brown or yellow yet, but like it's getting there, like, oh okay, so like fall is going to be soon. And then you see right there in the middle, the big clown nose of just a rich, very milk chocolate brown. So yeah, that kind of looks like a clown face to me. I'm not comfortable with that anymore. And there was some water bleeding at the very bottom of that. Ignore the piece on the side. I was doing a watercolor practice like months ago for that. To get the most out of the Arteza watercolors that I could, I am using an Arteza watercolor sketchbook. I got this a long time ago. It was in a pack of 3, so this one is actually for practicing watercolors. I have another that is a personal journal, and then I have another that's for like traveling journals. So yeah, and I actually, the piece that I sketched out here, I was actually very fortunate, even though I said orange and red and green don't occur very naturally all together in nature. I actually have a garden full of flowers on the side of my house, so I was able to take some form of composition for a composition reference photo for this piece. What I have, what I'm going to be painting out today is 2 different types of plants that I happen to own in my own, well, in my mother's own garden. Excuse me, I'm distracted by something that's in my nail. One is a maple flower, those like little drop bell maple flowers. This one in particular we love, and we don't really see out in the Home Depot or gardening hardware store wilderness, is the tiger eye maple, and they are just so beautiful, and people make fun of the leaf structure all the time because it's 5-pronged instead of the normal 3-pronged, which most maple flowers are. But the tiger eye maple, if you aren't aware, is yellow with the red veins in it. And so I thought, hey, maybe if I can water down the orange enough, it'll look yellow. And maybe you'll get to see at the very end of this video. But what I decided to do was that, and also in the background, the bushiness that you're going to see is going to be, you know what? I actually don't know the name of this flower. It's been at this window since I was a youth, and I've always just called it a butterfly plant because I've always seen butterflies around it, and it makes a very strong scent around it that does attract a lot of insects. And my mother absolutely hates this plant, but my dad loved it, so we keep it. I just don't know what it's called. It's like a... Let me type in rainbow butterfly plant in my Google and see if I can find the actual name for it. Oh, is it called butterfly weed? No, this doesn't. Okay, there we go. Lantana camara? That's kind of what it, yeah. So the Lantana camara, it's very rainbowy. It comes in like its own bouquet of flowers when it blooms, and it's rings of different colors. They start, the outer ring is red, the inner ring is orange, and then it kind of goes into a gradient of yellow in the middle, and maybe sometimes pink if the flower structure is big enough. But yeah, so that is the composition of the flower that I am, or the painting that I am making today. Right now I'm sort of just trying to get all of the color compositions that I made into there as much as I can, especially since it is the very beginning of spring. I made this painting like the second to last day of March, so while it is technically spring here in my little nook of California, some things are just starting to like bloom. So there are still there's still some winter hanging on to a lot of the plants and trees that we have around me. So there are going to be some dead leaves, or deadening leaves in certain areas. So that's why I didn't shy from the desaturated leaves in this composition. I also think it just kind of helps put in a bit of a depth to certain things. But yeah, I'm running out of things to say, so I guess I'm just gonna do a little bit of promotion now while you enjoy the haphazard painting that I am doing. So the first things first, something I'm very excited to do, talk about in the background of what I do here on YouTube. I also have an Etsy shop where I sell some fluid abstract paintings, and I'm actually starting to put in watercolor prints of some of the things that you've seen me do here on YouTube. But rather than talking about my watercolor prints, which I do all the time, what I have right now, starting on March 29th, which was a Monday, going all the way into the 15th of April, I have a 40% off sale on my Etsy shop, where you can buy the originals of some of the acrylic fluid paintings that I've done in a collection I like to call Beginnings, because it was one of the first few paintings I did officially for my Etsy shop. Most of it is abstract pride art, some of it is fan art, a lot of it is just, hey, look at these really funky colors and they make a really cool pattern. So if you want to check that out, links for everything that I have are in the description down below. If you don't want an original print or a painting, but you like the designs, I actually have put all of those as prints on my Redbubble shop, where you can find it as coffee cups, traveler's mugs, coasters, pretty much whatever you kind of fancy. You know how Redbubble works, so if you don't want the painting itself but you like the designs, I will put my Redbubble link in the description down below as well, so you can peruse that shop. I also have a Patreon. There's everything I'm gonna be talking about is in the description down below, but I have a Patreon for those who like my artistic style here on my painting side of YouTube, but you want to help me like sustain this lifestyle in a more prolonged way. I offer posters and other things. I can't remember everything because I haven't been on my Patreon in a while, but there's that. If you also like my gaming side of YouTube. There are Patreon tiers for that as well. I'm actually in the middle of, well, not in the middle of, I'm in the beginnings of a new video game design project, and I will be releasing that to the public very soon. So if you want to get behind the scenes and early access stuff for things like that, also check out my Patreon. What else do I have to plug for myself? I'm not very sure. Let's see, there's Etsy, there's Patreon, there was Redbubble. I think that was pretty much it. What else do I have in my life going on? Not much. Okay. Well, yeah, so now I'm just kind of doing the flowers in the background for the what did I call it before? The Lantana Camara plant? The little rainbow butterfly plant that I have as a reference. So I really couldn't get the orange to look yellow because it was too red. But there will be like a third layer with all of these very abstract flower petal plants that will be a lighter orange. So there's that, I guess. I don't have much else to say. I guess before this video comes to a close, before I have to say my very awkward goodbyes, like this video, share it if you must, subscribe if you haven't been here before, because I do mostly watercolor videos. I do other things like abstract, acrylics, oil pastels, oil paintings. I am new to the artistic world. I've only really been doing this for a year, like steadily. So I have this YouTube channel as a sort of, hey, come hang out with me while we can all learn to paint sort of thing. So I don't really do a lot of tutorials. This is more just me sharing my artistic journey. And if you also decide you want to share your artistic journey with me or anyone else who is watching this video, please feel free to do so. I take constructive criticism. If you just tell me that my art sucks, I'm not going to listen to you, and I'm probably also going to delete your comment down below, just because, like, not being positive all the time, I feel like that is unrealistic. But if all you're going to do is bash people and make them feel bad, that's not good, and you need to work on yourself a little bit. So there's that. I have nothing else to say, so I'm just gonna say personally, from this voiceover, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I have a few minutes left before this whole thing is done, but I will see you guys next time, and I hope you have a wonderful day.